So, folks, it's good to just talk and talk about bullshit. I'm starting to get into wine. Wine's not bad. Wine's pretty good. Y'all may not know it, but it's the year 2025, May. Donald Trump is president. We're still on that timeline over here. If my grandkids listen to this, I was alive when it happened. I was back in the 20s, the roaring 20s, when the Christian nationalists made their move. They finally pulled the trigger. Noah is 18, he'll be 19, and...
Is this a goodbye message?
No, how dare you. I can't be killed, and I never die. Look at me.
Sounds like you're making a goodbye message.
No, it's kind of like... See, I'm trying to start like a podcast thing, and it sounds like I'm doing a goodbye message.
Yeah,
That means I'm doing it right.
It sounds like this plays at, like, over the visual of you charging in this thing.
No, yeah.
As we make our way out of the back.
No, that just means I'm doing it right. That's how they're supposed. That's how all podcasts sound. What's wrong with you? Anyway, like I was saying.
Nearly zero podcasts.
Well, agree to disagree.
Dark. Listen to some dark.
Well, look, bro, the overhead. You know why people complain about overhead lighting? Look how horrible the picture looks. Come look at yourself in this.
Well, the light can't be in the guise of the camera. The camera has...
But that's why it's overhead. That's why overhead is bad, because no matter where you put the camera, it's like 12 o'clock noon, bad lighting. So you need studio lights or lamps, things of that nature. That's why you have lamps. I used to always wonder why, like, actors complain about overhead lighting. Ugh, overhead lighting in here? Ugh, don't put this in my face. I get it now. You miss out on so much. Is that better? Now look at this. It works on Journey. Journey's the only one that survives overhead lighting. Anyway, like I was saying, we're on the Trump timeline. The Christians have made their move. They've taken over the government. But we're still in the beginning. I personally thought I would be waist deep in a war right now. But black people decided that we were going to sit this one out, because thankfully smarter people than me knew that if we started protests in mass, that would be the government's cue to do their the thing with
genocide.
No.
Holocaust.
No, when the government takes over, the military takes over the laws.
Martial time.
Martial law.
Martial law.
They were going to institute martial law, not Holocaust. This guy's a pessimist down here. So they were like, well, we're not going to do that. We're going to let white people protest. And oddly enough, there's been no rioting. There's been no police barricades, no tear gas, just people protesting with signs and no police interference. So that plan worked. While all the black people are learning this new line dance. I'm sure y'all know it by now. It's the one with the fan. I was trying to learn it at Easter with the family, but my oldest sister, Angie, who lost her leg, was making fun of me, laughing, and I'm super sensitive. So I was like, you know what, we're out of here. We left the whole Easter. We wrapped it up. But that's what timeline we're in. So anyway, hopefully little Jamerl Jr., I'm sure my boy's named at least a couple kids after me, being so great.
We're doing the J.
You're doing the J thing?
We're doing the J.
Like James, Jacob, Jamie, continuing that?
Likely J.
What if it's a girl?
Then my wife gets the name.
What? Nah, you can't do that, man. They don't let her have control, bro. They don't know what they want. I mean, That's not what I'm saying.
My future wife's gonna see that. And you'll know.
She won't watch. She won't care. Women don't really care like that. Your sons will watch.
She'll
Women
see that
don't
too.
listen. They just don't. I was talking to this at work with Susie. I was like, how come, like, you'll hear us, but you won't listen to what we say? It's like you're almost like you're waiting for us to stop talking, and then you say something that's totally opposite. And I was talking about my mom at the time, and then Susie was like, well, I think that's all women, because I do that with my boyfriend. She has a very honest conversation with me. And I was like, okay, fair enough. I was like, well, do you feel like your dad listens and hears what you're saying? She's like, oh, yeah. I was like, okay, maybe it is a woman thing. I never thought of that. I never even considered that. But in my experience, usually when I'm having a conversation with a woman and I say what I feel and they say, well, what I'm hearing is you're saying that you never loved me, you shouldn't want to be. I'm like, they'll say something totally based on how they feel emotionally and had nothing to do with what I say. So I feel like the story checks out. Would you say that's true? Dealing with your mom. Were you trying to explain something to her? No, because I can bring back the tapes of where you were having a conversation exactly saying that was true. But you probably just don't remember having conversations with your mom because you stayed with me.
Than I did then.
Hmm?
I have a greater insight than I did then.
All right. I'm gonna have, you know what? This would be a good time in the video. When I edit this, I'm gonna cut into the conversation he had, and you'll see a very young and a very intelligent Noah talking very frankly about this very same subject. And Jacob. It's a known thing.
With the intelligence of an 8-year-old.
Okay, you have the
I've
intelligence
done a lot of things.
You have the intelligence of a. You didn't drink the blood? I made this especially for you, little one.
Okay.
I put blood in it, in the kibble. These dogs are ungrateful, man.
Yeah, I know. I know you don't like to be picked up. I don't like to be yelled at.
Anyway, he's too smart. He's too smart for his own good, this guy. But he also likes to mess with me. But I like to mess with my dad. Plus he has ADHD just as bad as me, which means arguing is more of a sport to us. We love it. It's just we're good at it. We love to express ourselves intellectually. And
I don't really like to argue with you anymore.
He's arguing about his love of arguing with me. Do we need to go any further with it?
I definitely acknowledge that.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean. I don't mean it in a bad way anymore.
It's not a bad thing. I definitely agree.
Right.
I just feel I can't gain truth with you through arguing.
Right. This is a new thing we're on now because we're become very truthful, and it turns out truth is the ultimate weapon when it comes to arguing. Arguing only works if two people are trying to be manipulative, and then it's almost like a game of chess where you can out manipulate others. But when one person is just being all truthful, it totally disarms you. So you got nothing you can use against them, because even if you say the truth, they'll be like, yeah, you're right. What the fuck can you do with that? You can't do nothing with somebody's like, yeah, you're right. That's a good point. I didn't consider that. So I probably defaulted to that, maybe just because I got tired of losing arguments with these guys. Maybe that's why I became truthful. I think it might have had something to do with ayahuasca, might have had something to do with enlightenment, but it probably was just Noah's a better shot than me. Jacob's a better sword than me. I used to be good at jiu-jitsu. Now they can both kind of hold their own with me. I can still catch them, but Noah, he's hard to handle. Jacob is getting stronger than me. I'm losing a lot of stuff. I had chess. Jacob can beat me at chess. I won the last game against Noah. I refused to play him again. So I'm better than Noah at chess right now. We started a new game on the phone. You guys still have phones? Little Jimrolina? Jimily? Jimily. But anyway, in 2025, everybody's on their phone a lot. I'm making this on the phone, on a telephone, a cellular phone actually.
We'll just have the same iPhone.
That'd be wild if iPhone is still running.
You know that.
And it's still, bro. When iPhones first were put out, number one, when I was a boy, I'll talk like I'm Mark Twain. When I was a boy, there were no cellular phones.
They won't know who Mark Twain is.
They'll definitely know. Oh my God, if y'all are so uneducated, you don't know who Mark Twain is. Famous American author, very truthful. Tom Sawyer.
I barely know who Mark Twain is. From English, and I ignored that intentionally. I was like, I don't want or need to know this. This makes me angry that they're trying to teach this to me.
Well, I had an affinity for authors because I always wanted to be a writer. And it started when I was in English, and we wrote this. What's the thing on Roger on American Dad? They were doing the wagon train game.
Oregon Trail.
Oregon Trail. So in my English class, we did Oregon Trail. Everybody had to pick a person to be. I'm very smart, unlike Noah, who was, didn't have very much intelligence as an 8-year-old. I'm super duper intelligent. I wanted to be the most important character in the Oregon Trail, so everybody's picking whatever because they're like, oh, the guy who makes the food, he'll have the food. I'm like, I would like to be the doctor. I was like, the doctor's indispensable. I'm going to be like the main guy, so I chose to be the doctor on purpose. And when I'm writing, because you had to basically write journals about your experience on the Oregon Trail, so, the little kids in class are writing their journals, it's very little kiddish. Oh my God, when I wrote mine, I'm taking them with me on the journey. And the teacher loved mine so much that she wanted to read it in front of the class. And she wanted me to read it, and I couldn't do it. Of course, I was way too shy. So she was like, do you mind if I read it? And I said, yes, you can read it, but I had to leave the room. So in the English class, when that part came up, the teacher always wanted to read my excerpt from my journal. She didn't read everybody's, but mine were so good, she wanted to read mine out loud. And I waited outside, and I just listened to the laughing and people. It made me feel so good. I was like, and then she told me, she's like, you're really good at writing. When somebody gives you encouragement as a kid, that shit sticks. Just like when they fuck with you as a kid, that shit sticks. But when she told me that, I was like, oh, wow, I am good at writing. Everybody enjoys it. But I'm sure y'all have read most of my books. I'm sure you've enjoyed The Gatekeepers. That's a little journey I've made for y'all to enjoy. It's not really... I made it because I wanted you guys to read it. So I hope you enjoy it. Later on, when you're older, you can get into the dark ones, more of a spiritual journey. And I have as of yet to think of the name for the plantation one, but that one's going to be quite the horror thriller. Way better than anything Coogler can put out. That hack. He's real big right now. He just made Sinners. He made Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. He's the real deal. He's a. That's another thing where we're kind of in the middle. Yeah, you see how your grandpa is? Oh my God, you see our genetics? I don't want to brag, but I'm really passing you guys some. The blood of the Pharaoh. You guys are sons of Ra, daughters of Ra. Don't forget that. And anyway. Yeah, I'm a bit arrogant. It's caused me a lot of problems in my life. That's why I'm going through my... You know what? We're not going to get into that. This is a whole different... We'll worry about that in a different episode. But Noah kind of got in my head talking about this sounds like what do you call those? Not a manifesto. What are those people say before they fucking... Is it manifesto?
Logs? I don't know a term for...
But you said it was like if somebody charges in to die or something, you're walking out. I would feel like...
Log or something?
Yeah. It's not. I swear. Don't put that evil on me. But I'm in a very good place. Don't listen to this guy. Hopefully this is just audio. I don't know. I feel like I like the visual aspect because I wish I could have had something like this. I know Noah, when he gets older, this kind of stuff will be super treasured. I did have an idea of starting an email for them and putting notes in it and giving it to them after I die. But, that's that ADHD shit. We come up with thousands of good ideas. And the thing about ADHD is that even coming up with a good idea and saying it out loud, we get the same endorphin hit as if we actually did the idea. So we just like to say, what we should do? Blah, blah, blah. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, and we go in our life, never do that great idea. But me, Jacob, Noah, we could come up with thousands. It's easy for us. Ideas are easy for us. We're imaginateers. They came up with this game called Night and Day. It's good because the name is so simple and so genius. You know what I mean? It kind of shows the duality of everything. It was just chef's kiss. And I do have a video of them explaining Night and Day and the characters somewhere. We were in a park and you two were explaining it. It was great. I wonder if you still Is that game still kind of fresh in your mind? Is it kind of always with you?
I don't remember the greater points of all the theology and the faction.
That's dope. That's dope how deep you know. That's how we are. They got me into D&D, which is, Jacob's game time. Noah, his
It's
imagination.
important to me that you know how poorly I ran Curse of Strahd. D&D is a device of conveying great ideas.
I know.
And I ran a book with ADHD.
I understand.
Not being able to read and understand.
That's why Jacob is good at
I'm
it.
a million times better than that. And I just didn't understand I was using the wrong device for me.
You were literally throwing it together on the fly. Like, you know how I don't know if you do this, but in school, I really relied on my intelligence. So I knew last minute I can take a test and pass. So I would study literally right before the class, go over all the work, at least, pass the test. I feel like that's how you were at Curse of Strahd. You were like, hey, we're going to play tomorrow. Jacob would say, are we going to play tomorrow? He'd be like, yeah, we can play. Then you forget. You're like, okay, we're going to play. Then I would see you scramble for a bunch of books. Right? And you were basically like, I felt like you were coming up with the story as we were doing it. Was that true or no? To a sense?
I was trying to understand the convoluted story that they had poorly written down. And I was adding in parts I've heard from other people playing it, and then just common sense of Dungeons and Dragons.
It's ADHD, man. Yeah, we really, because ADHD is a curse, but it's also a fucking superpower. Oh my God. So a lot of times I will literally just know that I can do things and won't plan for it. I would just have to know how much time I have left. Like the other day I was at work. I paint airplanes. Right now I paint airplanes. There's, you probably know me as the falconer, the horse raiser, the great ranch landman. But I was supposed to have painted these 2 jobs, but all of a sudden, I thought I had all day to do it. But then the guy says, hey, this plane is going to leave in 2 hours. So I was like, oh my God. So I was on break. I jump up and I start walking. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I got 2 hours to finish everything. I haven't really started yet. I've been napping in the conference room. Matter of fact, the janitor came in and started cleaning up. I popped up off the floor. He's like, oh, hey, Jamie, what are you doing in here? I was like, I was kind of taking my break. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I'm very responsible. I don't take that job seriously because they don't pay me very much there. So, you know how that goes. You know how we are. You have the same blood as me. But I finished it real quick when I should have just did it. But for some reason, when you have ADHD, you're like, okay, we don't have to leave till 8:30. It's 5 o'clock. So I don't even have to think about leaving right now. So I can just sit around doing nothing and not getting ready to leave. But from that moment on, all I'm thinking of, I need to leave at 8:30. So I have 3 hours left to rest. So instead of getting ready, I'm like, okay, I don't need to get ready now because at 8:30, it's going to take me, I don't know, 5 minutes to take a shower, another 2 minutes to get dressed, grab my stuff, get out the door. I need probably about 10, 15 minutes to get out the house. And so I'll wait till literally 8:15. But instead of just of course I'm forgetting everything. That's not how that works, but that's how that's how our mind works. But I'm taking steps to fix that. I think I'm gonna work on getting myself some chemicals, some Ritalin or something. I think Adderall is just basically meth, which, don't mess with that stuff. I'll tell you what it does. It makes you extremely smart for like a few hours, and then you get extremely super sexual to where, even people you would normally be attracted to, you'll be very turned on, but then you'll be dumb. Like your brain stops working, you'll be tired, you can't eat, and you won't be able to sleep. And sometimes if you do too much of it, you'll go like days without sleeping. That's when you start hallucinating. It's a very oily substance. So if you smoke it or however you do it, it comes out through your pores. Those people start getting big pop marks. And when you're ADHD, you pick stuff all the time. And it's just a mess. Don't do that one. If you're going to do something, I would suggest a natural marijuana. I'm hoping that still exists. Don't do the vape stuff. It's full of heavy metals. And, I'm sure... hopefully it doesn't exist anymore because they're making the batteries for that in the Congo. We have family from your great grandmother's side from the Congo. From our side, from my father's side, we have family from Nigeria and actually here in America, Cherokee. I'm sure it's common knowledge by now, but when I grew up, we didn't know that there were black people here already. We just thought everybody came from Africa. The school systems were whack. And they got whack again. And I don't know, because the way things are going now with this, the Trump era, they're burning all the books. They're getting rid of all the black cultural history. So they may be doing a purge again. So guys may not. I may be dropping some knowledge on you. You know what? Black people were from here. We were all over the world. They were called mound builders. That's why all over the world there's pyramids. Anyway, and that's why everybody from these other races that they call Native Americans, they look like your father. Like a black and a white black person and a white person mixed. That's why Mexicans look like that, because they were black people in America. They were the Aboriginal Americans, or the real native people. People from Spain came over, which you think of Spain, Spanish, you're thinking Mexican, but they're really Europeans. They were European colonizers. Basically, white people came over. They raped and pillaged, had sex with the black natives, and that's why all the Mexicans look like your father and your uncle, because even in the Middle East, you go over there, you look at the Egyptians, they look like your father, your uncle, because why? Colonization. You go everywhere. That's why people look like that. But if you didn't know I just blew your mind. There'll be a lot more of that. And anyway, stupid ADD. I forgot what I was talking about. Trump, burning books, education. Anyway, I kind of went through how I am now is not how I grew up. I grew up very conformist, very trying my best to be neurotypical or think like everybody else, trying to fit in. I loved the fact that I was different because I made everybody laugh, and I thought that who wants to be like everybody? That seems crazy to me. Wanting to fit, even though I had a hard time making friends as a kid and yada, 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 I never wanted to just be like everyone else, because that seemed horrible to me. Just fitting in like that, to lose all my uniqueness. I've always loved the silly part of myself. I love that. I love bugs. I try to talk to animals. I love nature. I think differently. And once your father and your uncle finally got here, I had people I could hang out with, and that could think on my level. So it all worked out. Yeah, so enjoy your uniqueness, Fitting in isn't everything. I'm sure a couple of you are trying hard to fit in. We can't help it. But even your father, Jacob, or your uncle, Jacob, depending on who I'm talking about, Jamerlina or Jamelia, there has to be a Jamerl II. Jamerl Moncellis Smith II. You can't let that die. The name is crazy. My name is Jamerl Moncellis Smith. You understand? I'm the only one. Jamerl Moncellis.
Multiple boys of speculation, of course. Unlikely. I'll have years and decades to think about it.
Come on, man. Don't do this. Just say the good thing and make me happy. What are you doing?
If I have two boys, I'll likely do J, and then the second one give them a middle name.
You'll give them Moncellis
I'll give them Jamerl.
as a middle name? All right. Anyway, Jamerl's been great for me, because when the internet was invented and then email became a thing, yeah, I'm older than the internet.
You go by Jamie all the time.
I go by Jamie now, just because Jamerl has a lot of history under his name. There's
If you went by Jamerl, I feel like I'd be more open to naming one of my kids' first names Jamerl. But I feel like
well, Jamie is
growing up.
Jamerl is a derivative of James. Jamie is a derivative of James. Every name is a derivative of James. Like my mother named me James Urel, from my dad James Urel. So my real name is pronounced James Urel. James Urel Moncellis Smith. And I'm assuming it was from a trade that we did and not from. Because I'm honestly wondering if we have that much Indian in blood, and I've seen the pictures of my great grandmother, your great 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 grandmother, and she was an Indian, straight up. Her boys looked mixed Indian. They were black as hell though, but they had Indian faces and that straight hair. She just had long, beautiful black straight hair. She was a straight up Indian, native. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking it wasn't from, taking the master's name, which made me feel kind of funny about the whole Smith name. But once I started doing research into it, trying to look in the areas where we lived in Mississippi, Georgia, Arkansas, Michigan, all the places, the planter class or slave owner class there, looking for the Smiths in the area. There's not a very lot. But once I found out that the slaves, when they left, they had a choice when they left. You know what I mean? But usually they're like, they just chose what they did or the person's name just to keep it easier. But we have an affinity for making stuff. You know what I mean? I'm sure you've seen your dad's line of throwing knives and things of that nature. And anyway, I feel like smithing is in our blood, making stuff. Have that, what's the African god of iron? Not Olaroon, you said that's the main guy. Ogun. Oh, that sounds wrong.
That is what you said yesterday.
Ogun?
That's what you said yesterday.
I feel like it's probably just coming out wrong because I'm using this American mouth with it. You have to talk like, if you are talking, you have to talk like you're from Africa. We don't worship these Orishas anymore. See, I've been listening to Trevor Noah, and he has that South African accent, so he's been throwing me off. I haven't been around a lot of Nigerians. Anyway, what else is going on right now? Wars again. Wars are a big deal. America is losing their place. We've lost our place as top dog and money person of the world. Now China's taking the top spot. Which, I don't really care. None of that really matters to me that much, but because I'm learning there's things I stress over that I literally have zero control. So it's like, why you? It's silly to give that energy to that thing when you literally can't control it. But it's our nature. We're overthinkers. We like to think. I mean, if we're not fighting, if we're doing this, and it was a better way. Oh, that was the whole point. Okay, the black leadership sent out the message to everybody, we're not fighting, we're not going to be protesting, we're not hitting the streets, we're not going to be doing all the rioting and shooting and whatnot. We're going to protest with our motherfucking money. And it was a genius idea. Bro, that's why I'm not in charge. That's why I'm not in charge. It's weird how we get the messaging. It's kind of, black people got this weird ESP thing. I don't understand it, but it's real. It's just real. So I was shocked. But it's been working so well. We started with when this whole Palestine thing happened. Palestine was a place that used to exist. It's probably known as Israel now. Israel didn't exist. They were refugees from a European war between just look at the history books. It's everywhere. Every movie, yada yada yada. It's you know what I'm talking about. But they were, they needed a place to stay. Palestine let them move in over there as refugees. They took over, and now they killed all those people, took the whole land, renamed it Israel. Now it's illegal to say anything bad about Israel because Israel, I'm not going to get into that. You know what I mean? I feel like it's very weird now because although it's true, people look at you weird when you start talking shit about Israel because you're just like, oh, you're just being anti-Jewish. You're like, I'm just telling you what's happening. But that's how deep the propaganda is that I'm hesitant to talk about it to my own grandkids throughout time. But, bro, it's not like because Jewish It's not. I'm not gonna do this. You sucking me in. I'll make a little hidden tape. I'll bury it somewhere, and I'll tell you the real stuff later. You'll have to find that later. But anyway, that's probably it. This is a good 30 minutes. That's pretty good. That's pretty good for a first manifesto. Podcast or whatever. Call them podcasts. They used to be called video blogs or vlogs, but podcast is. I don't know who made that up. It's better than vlog, but anywho. But what's important is that you realize that you guys would not have existed had I not imagined you into reality. You hear me? This wasn't just a thing, two people having sex and it just happens. No, I made this happen. I directly created you through women and through the ideas I put into my son's head. But you're welcome. You're welcome for life. You're welcome for your intelligence. You're welcome for your melanated, beautiful skin. And I love you so much. And I'll talk to you later.